Hello. Today I'd like to show you guys how to operate with my custom polypropylene plastic molds. These molds are best used for epoxy castings. You can use polyester. It will work with polyester. However, I found that working it with epoxy is far more superior than silicone. The reasons being, silicone tends to get dirty and sloppy, and the more times you use silicone, it actually degrades due to heat, due to extra stresses. You pack down metals if you make an orgonite. General casting, okay, if you're baking, that sort of stuff, silicone works well. The other problem about silicone is it attracts dust. Look, I got a dog, I got dog hair all over it. It's like I'm constantly chasing hair. Dust, fingerprints. It's very, very difficult to clean silicone and get it absolutely back to a full polish. All of my silicone molds are full polished on the inside, but it's only just as good as if you can get it cleaned. So today I'll show you a couple of tricks of my trade that I'd like to share with you. So here's a silicone mold. It's a clear mold. I ran this without actually degassing it, so there's a lot of interior bubbles, but I wanted to check it out. It's not good enough for me for sale because I don't know what the longevity is of this stuff, but this is clear. Actually, it's more like opaque actually, but they market it as clear. This is Smooth-On's Clear Platinum Cure Silicone Dragon Skin, it's called, and it's super sticky to the skin, but it's so smooth. So anyway, I poured some iron oxide with some Pearl X powder in there, and you notice how it's splattered up against the walls there. Now, in order to get this out, you can either separate it like this and then dig your hands in there, but really, that's not really the right way to do it. So the problem about this is the silicone is tight up against the, I guess that would be the base of the pyramid. And when you go and remove it, you'll notice that it might have a line, or you might cut into the silicone trying to get it out. But an easy way to get this out would be to turn this over and to push down on the point, like so. Now we have all this residue to get rid of. And inside the pyramid, it's really difficult to actually get inside and clean that out. So what works best is actually my tape. Wow, look at this, it's filthy. I was doing some polishing before. I'm going to see if I can grab a piece of tape here. Tape works well, including plastic and silicone, in removing surface debris. Get really sticky tape. I use Frost King's look at this. It's so sticky, it's sticking to everything. Frost King's weather stripping tape. It's actually a polypropylene tape, or urethane, or it's polypropylene. Nothing. If you get resin on this, it won't stick to it, and it's super sticky. It's great tape. So what I do is I put some tape on there, make sure it sticks into the walls of the silicone to get rid of the epoxy base, and hopefully the epoxy will stick to the tape and not the silicone when I pull this off. So you can sort of see that the epoxy adhered to the tape and not the silicone. This is one easy way of actually cleaning molds, is to actually use sticky tape. But really hard caked on epoxy really likes to stick to silicone sometimes, like here. You know, it's not coming off right away. So it's like, well, how do you clean that? Am I going to put chemical in here? Well, just keep working it with the tape, I guess. There we go. There. Now, this silicone actually didn't form an indent, which is kind of cool. So it was really kind of like a prototype silicone mold. Maybe I'll run all my molds with this type of silicone. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. So anyway, so that's the silicone mold. Now, let's see how the surface came out with this. The surface actually didn't come out that bad. A couple of pits here and there, but looks pretty cool. Yeah, the tip had an air bubble in it. Like I said, I just threw this in there just for yucks, really. Anyway, that's okay. So back to the plastic molds. The plastic molds, like I said, I custom cut these, any shape, any size, within the maximum size right now that I can cut out is roughly 11 inches wide by 20-inch tall pyramid. That's a pretty big pyramid, actually. I'll show you one in a second here. But basically what you do is you fold this over. Take this one here. It comes flat. I ship them flat, typically like this. When you get it, that's what you're gonna have. You're gonna have a folded pyramid. So what you're gonna want to do is you're gonna want to open it up and then meet the two sides together. Unfortunately, there is going to be a seam. So once you get your seam together and all the sides are a square, what you're gonna want to do is put hot glue on that bead, and that will hold together the polypropylene plastic and form the mold. Now hot glue, I ran with hot glue because, well, it works. It's able to hold the polypropylene together, and it prevents leaks. Sometimes it does leak out a little bit, like this one here, it leaked out. But what's really cool about that is it doesn't stick to it. It's great. It just removes really easy. Okay, so basically what you're going to want to do is put a bead of hot glue right down the seam, let it cure, or harden rather, because really it doesn't dry, it has nothing to evaporate. Let it harden, and then you're ready to use the mold. When you're done with the mold, as in this one, you're going to want to remove the hot glue and then peel apart your plastic. Now, epoxy is funny. My epoxy, I don't know about yours, but my epoxy, if the epoxy is poured in large masses, it does shrink. Like the corners here shrunk. It shrunk in. This one here is even worse. This one I didn't bother. I poured it in and I basically left for the night, but it had all the air still stuck in it. It's best to actually utilize a small pencil torch like this and run it over gently to remove your suds, bubbles, air at the top. I didn't do that, but like I said, I poured this whole thing at the top here, and I got shrinkage here at the top, got shrinkage down there. It sort of is not flat anymore, but like I said, this is just for demonstrational purposes. My show pieces are made the same way, but no air. Okay, so let's say you poured this and you want to remove, let me zoom this in a little bit. There we go. So you want to remove this and say, okay, well, how do I get this out? You know, you can't be pressing down on nothing. So what you would do is you just simply take your pliers and remove the hot glue. Look how easy that is. Beautiful. A couple of places where it'll still stick on if you anal about taking that stuff off, and then just grab the side and gently peel it back. Look at that. Gorgeous. Gorgeous. So that's only half done, and then keep going. Unfold, unfold, unfold. Voila. So there's the mold. And you'll see some surface scratches as I can't get my material, my plastic, scratch free from the distributor, not unless I order thousands and thousands of dollars worth of plastic, which I don't have that type of Anyway, so that's how to operate with the mold. And these sides will cut you. They're sharp. Let's see if I can get all the dirt off my fingers. The tip you gotta be careful of. Sometimes what I like to do with the tip is actually leave an air gap so it leaks out a little bit, so you don't actually get the bubble on the tip. You'll actually have a point. So that's basically it with that, and then how to put it together I'll show you in a minute after I get done taking this one apart. So this one here, some shapes are different. I forget what the heck this shape is. Anyway, this one's got a lot of hot glue in it because of the way that the mold is designed. It's actually one piece. Now if this was silicone, in order to extract this out of silicone, it would be like that, and the mold will be sort of like this. Now I guess it would be a separate thing, you know. It would be a two-piece mold, and then you would have a seam. Seams suck. Simple as that. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing with this one. We're going to grab it, and you can already see that the plastic wants to come apart, or off the epoxy. Sometimes it's the hot glue really stuck on there. This hot glue has been on here for months, so I just actually found this mold in the dead storage. I was like, ooh, I'll run with this. Sometimes, like I said, it is time consuming, but the results are awesome. Because like I said, this is different. If you have the diligence in doing this, yeah, this is old hot glue. Just likes to stick on there. And this hot glue generally melts around 300. You know, you're not getting this mold 300 degrees, so you really don't have to worry about it. Some people that pour polyester, depending on how deep and thick the pores are, you can melt the hot glue and have resin leak out and ruin your cast. So I run with this method because it's the results are great. Yeah, so this hot glue is really hard to get off. Alright, well, let's see what happens here. So I'm going to find where this meets, and I'm going to go ahead and start taking this apart. And voila. And that goes too. And I'm going to find out where the bends are. So this does. Sometimes you don't even need to remove all the hot glue. And there it is. So that was the mold. So this is what the mold looks like flat, which is custom cut to form that shape. So here it is. Here's the shape. The corners are nice and sharp, despite the raggedness of Raggedy Ann here. It should be it looks really good. I mean, now the surface, I don't know if the camera can pick up the surface there. Let's see if I can get it to reflect. The surface, you'll notice that there's some surface scratches. But the surface scratches are actually so minor because the mold that comes directly, the cast that comes directly out of the mold is really polished really well, to the point where you really don't need to do that much finishing out of it. Try to make a metal mold out of that. I dare you. Anyway. So anyway, I got some zinc flake in there. Zinc gold flake. I forget what it is. I don't know. It's imitation gold, but it's actually a metal. So, and it's got a quartz crystal someplace. I think right there. So I threw in a couple of quartz crystals in there just to make the piece something. So that's that. So that's pretty cool. Okay, moving right along. So back to putting the mold together for the next round. Now you can clean up. You can take a razor blade or something like that. Try not to cut into the plastic too much because you want to have that edge. Keep that inside edge. The inside edge is going to be what's on your mold. Outside, it doesn't matter. So what I like to do is I like to actually, this stuff is really great. Deep Gloss Paint Sealant by Wolfgang. It's expensive, but a little bit goes a long way. So it's a polymer based wax for the car, and it works great for sealing up surface irregularities on the mold here. So let that sort of dry out a little bit. So what this does is this preps the surface for the cast, and it'll do a transition from the plastic mold to the cast. So you'll have a polished, try not to get any fingerprints on there, which is difficult because my hands right now are absolutely filthy. So we'll just put this together as best as possible. Now your mold won't have this problem because some of my molds here, you'll notice that there's a gap at the top. This gap can be filled in with hot glue. Take your hot glue gun. This is a professional quality hot glue gun. I was tired of buying the store-bought stuff, the store vendors stuff. So this one you can actually change the temperature rating. So right now I'm at 340, which is just plenty for this. And go right up the mold and hold it until you start seeing it harden out. It'll turn opaque and not clear. Obviously, the longer the mold, I'll show you a longer mold in a second here, will you need to do it in I can't find the right word for it, but you got to do it in sections, because if you accidentally move the mold when you're doing this, you'll have to stop what you're doing, let the hot glue cure, remove the hot glue and start over. A fan will work best. I used to have a fan here to help cool, but it ended up being in my way. Once it's not tacky anymore, you can pick it up, and there it is, ready for pouring. Got some transplant in the background. So that's basically it for running with the plastic. This one's going to be a little bit more time consuming to get together again because, like I said, it's old hot glue. Like it's been sitting for, it has to be a good year. It really has. This one's will take some finesse to get right. To put it back together, you got to do one side, then the next side, then you keep folding it over, another side, another side, another side. So here's a really, really truncated Great Pyramid. I forget what this is. This is like a probably a 36-degree angle. I forgot what I made this for. I think I was going to make like these little teeny tiny driveway lights, but it never came to. Now, storing the molds, you can store them flat like this. You know, put them up on a shelf or something. I'll back this out just a little bit here. Whoops, wrong way. All right. This one I kind of sort of had on the bench, so it got filthy. I mean, it's absolutely filthy. Look at that. It's filthy. If that was silicone, you would have to put it in the dishwasher to get it clean. So what I'm going to do is, if this was my mold that I wanted to pour, I'm going to gently, this is a microfiber. This actually happened to be a bed sheet that was on sale at the dollar store. And I'm like, you know what? A 60 by, I don't know, it was a twin. What is a twin? 60 by 72 or whatever was like $4. I'm like, ooh, I'll just cut it up and use it for this, instead of actually going to the store and buying a microfiber towel. Okay, so this mold here is definitely seen mileage, and they're just going to let you know of all the things that could happen with a mold. For one, I got crazy glue on it. Now, you can do a lot with polypropylene. You can actually use the strongest solvents, MEK. You can use MEK on it. I suggest using MEK in a well ventilated environment. I'm just going to do this now for show purposes, and gently let the solution reduce whatever the heck is on this. If it's epoxy or not, I don't know. I think it could be crazy glue, and it's not coming off. So the next thing you can do is taking a super sharp brand new razor blade. This is not brand new, and I'm probably going to dig into the plastic, but yeah, it's super glue. Some super glues will stick to polypropylene. And that will obviously come out on the mold, on the cast rather, and be degraded. But anyway, this is just a show and tell mold of what could happen. When you use your torch to remove bubbles, you'll notice that if you stay the torch in one area for too long on plastic, you'll melt it. These spots here, and here, and here, is what happens when you get the plastic too hot in one area. I was trying to get something that was tough, and I ran too hot. Now when that happens is you degrade the surface of the plastic, and you run the risk of epoxy going to stick to the area. And you'll notice here that I have a little bit of a stress crack because it was a little bit, it actually, I don't know if I can see it on that side here. Anyway, the epoxy stuck to the plastic a little bit there, and it was a little rough getting off. It was like crack. Whoa, what happened? Okay, that's what happened. All right, no big deal. So I forgot to close my MEK. This needs to go down there where I can't smell it. And basically, what you're going to want to do for our mold is to get some wax on there, wax it down, let it dry off. And again, if you don't want to run with I don't think I have any. Oh yeah, I do have some. If you don't want to run with professional quality wax, get some New Finish. New Finish is a polymer based. Polymer based, it works much better than the Carbonuma wax for epoxy casting that I've found. It doesn't degrade as much. So I'm going to let this dry out a little bit. Zoom out a little bit. Go ahead and rub it off. So what this will do is this will prep the surface for the next pour, for the next casting run. It will also prevent dust from getting in. Well, it won't prevent dust. It'll just prevent statical charge, something that's silicone you can't get away with. Oh yeah, look at this. This is filthy on the outside. Like I said, I had this laying on the table for golly knows how long. I got dog fur stuck to it. I got golly knows what else is stuck to this. Okay, so there's the mold. You're going to want to shape it. Like I said, when it ships, it'll be shipped like this. Depending on if you request. If you want to request a mold that's already hot glued together as a one shot, let me know. I'll hot glue it together. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is match your seams and hot glue. So I'm going to turn this around so I can work lefty here and use my right hand, use my left hand for squeezing the top together. The bottom can be open, and take your hot glue gun and put a nice bead, not enough where it's going to soak through to the interior of the pyramid, enough to fill in the top, the gap in between the two mating surfaces, and let that cure. And then gently, you gotta wait for the top to cure. This way, when you release it with your hand, you don't, it doesn't come apart. Yeah, it's time consuming, but the outcome, like I said, is just, it's flawless. I'm gonna show you a pyramid in a couple of seconds here once I get done with this, that was entirely cast out of plastic. I couldn't imagine a silicone mold that big. It would be heavy. It would be very, very expensive to produce and almost nearly impossible to remove. What's really cool about this when you're actually casting into this type of plastic is that since it is sort of see-through, cloudy almost, you can sort of see what the heck you're doing to make something magnificent. Okay, so now here's the tricky part, because my hand doesn't fit all the way around. I'm going to take my hot glue gun. And of course hot glue loves to have the stringiness. One time I had a whole night of hot gluing and I had these cobwebs everywhere. I was like, oh man, how do I get rid of these things? Anyway. Now, if you have a problem with getting the bottom square, you could always get a T-square and put it down and glue the T-square to the base if you wanted to. You know, not dry yet, hard yet. So this is basically the maintenance and the operation of the plastic molds. The longevity is years. It's a lot longer than I think than silicone to work with plastic. There's a lot of it's easier, I think, and like I said, the points here, like this point here is sharp. You can hurt yourself with that. Same thing with here. You can't, it's very difficult to get this type of edge out of silicone. Although, yeah, see, this edge isn't as tight. Alright. Is this ready to go? Yep. Okay, so now the final draw here. I'm going to try to get this down. I might, you know what? I'm probably going to want to do that. Like I said before, you can glue it at the bottom so the bottom stays. So once the bottom cures, you can hold one side, push it into where it was cured on the bottom. It's going to be a little bit, I wonder if I could, no. Crap. I wonder if there's another way we can do this. You can also probably do it like this, which is probably easier and more efficient than doing it back down the other way. It's however you feel comfortable doing this. Once you get good at it, you can find your method and just operate how you see fit. I can remove this off my table. And all these schnivels of, see what I'm saying about the cobwebs? Just, of course, it's still stuck to the gun. Get rid of this here. We done yet? Are we done yet? Just barely. Very, very gooey. Okay. Now, doesn't look square. So what you're going to want to do is, when the hot glue is still sort of forming, you can bend it so it's shaped. Now, it doesn't come with a holder. It's real simple for a holder. You basically just want to take a cup or something that's round and sort of, well, obviously this isn't wide enough. I don't have something down there, but you want to take like a bucket or something like that. You can hot glue something in there and so it stays straight like this, but that's basically what you're going to want to do for pouring inside. And that's it. That's operation of plastic molds. Now, this one here is a pyramid that I built that was entirely out of a plastic mold. Let's see if I could remove this here. There we go. Whoops. This pyramid here is built entirely out of a plastic mold. It is 10 and a half, 10 and a quarter inches wide. Where am I here? So I'm at 0 and 10 and a half inches wide. And it's quite tall. It's very tall. It's, well, it's more than a foot. So that's 12. Another, it's really 18 inches. So I ran with coils and crystals and lapis lazuli and some kyanite, some tiger's eye, quartz, real gold, some malachite in there. So basically I was able to create this with epoxy to the point where I was able to do a clear layer, and then I added my color, and then some more stuff back behind that. But the clear layer, and then I took out all the bubbles. I have some surface suds, but I was able to inlay a Flower of Life petal, and then behind that run with color, which I thought was really neat. And you can't really do that with polyester, because then you would have shrinkage problems. But I thought that came out really, really sharp with the gold embossment. I embossed that with gold powder, and I ran with this. It's a you know, it's a little bit of a design with the SBB coil run structure. Again, it's a clear layer with the colors back behind it. And the surface now, you know, like I said, you're going to see some scratches. If there's scratches in the plastic, you could see there that there's scratches there. But you can see the shine here. That's entirely out of the plastic mold. And like I said, it's huge. So this is the largest mold series. That's cool, right? Look at that. It just dances in the light. Another one. They came from my I get an SBB. Came from that coil jig, which makes giant 4-inch SBB coils. Another Flower of Life. I actually carry those molds that actually make that. Same thing with this. I just made a coil and used the coil jig over there, and I just kept going. It's all one piece of wire. And that's it. So plastic and epoxy work extremely well. Alright, well, visit my Etsy shop and see what I have to offer. If you want a plastic mold, send me over a PM. I only make them by request only, because they are time consuming to construct. But that's about it. Thanks for watching.